It's hard to believe a year had passed since this company's formation.
You should be very proud of what you've accomplished so far.
I sure am.
Luke, may I ask you a question?
Certainly.
What was your life like since before the company's formation?
Oh boy, where do I begin?
You must have had a lot of adventures in your past.
That's an understatement, my friend.
I imagine you went on many journeys. I want to know the details.
Well, you would think my story would begin in 1971, but you'd be wrong, my friend. It didn't even begin in the 1970s, nor did it begin in 1969, not even in 1968. My adventure really begins much earlier than that.
Oh, please. Luke, tell us the story of your journey.
Well, you see, it all began in the summer of 1962. I received an offer to work at Mountain Lab in New Mexico. It wasn't actually a lab per se, but a place that had plenty of job opportunities. They had a sawmill, which was the heart of the place. They also had a train yard and a couple warehouses. I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff on my first day because I was hired as an office worker. On this day, I'm pretty sure it was cloudy and cool. I remember thinking it felt more like spring than summer. Mountain Lab also had its own apartment building and a 7-Eleven a few blocks away. It was pretty cheap too. I rented an apartment on the third floor. It had everything the average person needed. I woke up at around 8 o'clock, just an hour before my first day of work. After a quick shower and breakfast, I walked down to the 7-Eleven. I bought myself lunch for later and a newspaper. Soon I was on my way to the workplace on foot. I was 15 minutes early when I went inside. I checked in at the front desk and then went up the elevator. I was told to head on over to the conference room where I would meet my coworkers and the boss.
So, why are we all meeting here again?
We're all here to greet our newest member.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're getting a new member. When's he mean to arrive?
He should be here soon. The receptionist confirmed he had just checked in.
Quiet. He's here.
I knocked on the door, unsure if I was supposed to enter.
Good morning. You must be Luke. Welcome to Red.
Mrs. Dickerson, the boss, said. Good morning to you all. I'm thrilled to be a part of your company, I said.
Well, it's great to have you. Let's get down to business. There's a lot to do today, so let's get right to it.
She said. Right, I said. I got introduced by my fellow coworkers, and we went over that day's plan. I was paired with Tommy, who gave me a tour of the office before I got to do some actual office work. We started from the bottom floor and worked our way to the top.
So Luke, what'd you do before you joined us?
Tommy asked. Back in 1959, I used to work at a newspaper in Virginia, I said.
Really? What paper?
He asked. The Daily Press. I worked at one of their newsstands in Virginia Beach, and I'm not kidding when I say I was kept plenty busy. The beach itself was crowded nearly every hour of the day and night. During lunch, I would always try and chat up with the hot girls that were just having a good time. I iced them out, but they all said no. However, they didn't mind conversing with me as friends, even though I'm alive in New Mexico. Most of those girls still call me on the telephone from time to time, so at least I accomplished something in my life. Pity it wasn't exactly what I wanted, I said.
I know what you mean. The ladies are picky these days. Remember back in the 50s when getting married was as easy as parking your car in the driveway. Nowadays, it's a hassle just to get a date with someone because they can't accept you for who you are.
He said. I couldn't agree more. Anyway, Tommy showed me around the rest of the building. I especially liked the rooftop. It had a great view of the Rocky Mountains and the sun was positioned perfectly. I could have sat out there all day long, relaxing. My cubicle was on the fourth floor. For whatever reason, this building did not have any elevators at the time, so we had to use the stairs, and since this was a fairly tall building, this was quite the workout. Who needs a gym when you have stairs to exercise your legs? I only lost my breath at least once or twice throughout my time here, which was very impressive. Before we got to my cubicle, Tommy introduced me to Amelia, another coworker, although he never said so. I'm pretty sure Tommy liked Amelia the way he was staring at her. I could tell he did. He couldn't keep a straight face while he was talking to her. Judging by her face, this wasn't even the 7th time he acted this way. Tommy then handed me the checklist that I was to complete for the day. Sheesh, this is a big one, I said.
Good luck. If you need help, ask any of us. We're all here to help you succeed.
He said. All right, thank you, I said, and went to work. My first task was to shred all the old documents that had been gathering dust in a corner of the room for decades. It's safe to say that this task was easy. The next task on the list was to buy lunch for Mrs. Dickerson. I went to the grocery store, which was very far away at the time. I wasn't allowed to drive any of the company vehicles. I had to walk several miles to get to the grocery store. When I got there, it wasn't busy, to be fair. It was Thursday, which was the slowest day of the week. Plus, it was still morning. The boss didn't really care what I bought for her as long as I get it to her before noon. There were lots of different choices for me to choose from. The prices were pretty reasonable, too. I decided to buy her a taco as well as some ice cream. I also bought her Coca-Cola. After another several miles, I made it back to the office, and after going up several more flights of stairs, I got to her office and handed her the food. Before lunchtime, I had to complete another task on the checklist, return phone calls. It was a rather boring task, but I did it nonetheless, and I was glad once noon rolled around, I get to eat lunch with the others for an entire hour.
So, Cook, how are you getting along on your first day?
Lee asked me. So far, so good. It's not really the same as working at a newsstand in Virginia Beach, if I'm being honest, but I've been able to adapt, I said.
That's the spirit. I'm sure you'll enjoy it here.
Edward said. We then talked about other things for the rest of the hour. The rest of the day went by much too slowly. I was still assigned the same boring tasks that I was given earlier, but regardless, I finished them. I was already getting bored near the end of the day, but once it was 5 o'clock, the day ended and we all walked out together like it was the last day of school. Another day, another dollar, I said to myself. I went back home and went to my room. I took out my diary and wrote down my thoughts on my first day at Mountain Lab before having dinner by myself. Nothing of interest was on TV that day, so I just went to bed. And that marked the end of my first day at my new job, but this also marked the beginning of a new life for me. It was a windy day, but a good day as far as the summer weather goes. I arrived on time at the office as always and was ready to get to work. I sat at my desk waiting for the usual phone calls to roll in. Later that day, we were expecting a visit from a client, so Amelia and I were preparing a meeting room for them. The minute they arrived, we went back to our regular work. Before I could even get started, Tommy walked towards me.
Look, I need an honest answer to a question.
He said. Sure, I said. He looked around before speaking again.
Is Amelia single?
He asked. Oh, that's an interesting question, I said. I assume she is. Why do you ask?
Well, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in her. Oh, and please tell me others aren't interested in her, too.
He said. From my observation, no. And before you ask, she and I are only friends, so you don't have to worry about me taking her from you. He said.
Good. Could you please keep this conversation a secret?
He asked. Of course, I said. You helped me around the office on my first day, so I'll do you a favor and pretend we never had this conversation. Now, I better get back to work.
Oh, yeah? Today's going to be a rather busy day. I better head back to my office. Bye.
He said. Later, I said. After he left, I went back to my work. Next several hours went by rather slowly until John called me over to his cubicle. What's the situation? I asked.
I need your help. Look, the boss wants me to hire 2 new people. Here are a few resumes.
He said, passing them over. I looked at the resumes. Gareth Burton, age 20, matriculated at the University of North Carolina, worked at a car wash, very reliable. Gary Johnson, age 22 years of college, worked at a Dairy Queen. Jen Wick, age 22 years of college, worked at a pizza shop. Peter Whitehead, age 18, just graduated from high school, worked at a tire shop. Me and John were debating who to hire. I think we should hire Gary and Jen, I said.
Well, I think Jen and Garth should be hired.
John said. In the end, we agreed to give Gareth and Gary a try. They would arrive the next day. Anyway, it was 15 minutes before lunch. A shipment of donuts was delivered to us, and I had to help unload the truck and take them to the vending machines. And no, that's not a joke. We actually had donut vending machines. It was a new concept introduced a month before my first day. You could actually buy one for $1, which was a steal. Right as I was about to eat one for lunch, a moody Bert entered the room. Oh, hey, Bert, you look rather glum. Is something wrong? I asked.
Yes, every minute I spend in this dump is another minute I could be at home watching TV. I hate being here. Clients take out their frustration on me and not anyone else, as if I'm the one in charge of this place. I could go for a nice long walk to get myself in a better mood, but I guarantee you they'll find a way to harass me once again and get me fired.
He complained. I've seen Bert angry before, but not like this. He looked like he was about to cry. How about I cover your shift, go outside and get some fresh air or something, I suggested.
No. No, I can't let you do that. You're busy enough as it is. Besides, I can handle the workload. You just go worry about your own work,
He said. Bert, please, you need time away from this place. You need to get yourself in a better mood. If not, your mental health is at stake, I said.
Fine.
He said angrily. He then went up to the donut machine and bought himself a chocolate-frosted donut. Well, he tried to anyway. He put $1 in the slot and pressed the button, and the donut was about to drop out of the machine when it got stuck.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Bert swore and made the big mistake of shaking the machine. It fell on him.
Oh God.
Tommy said. The police came and began their investigation. Many of us were questioned, and it didn't take long for them to figure out what happened. Apparently, this was the 4th time a vending machine fell on somebody in this very building. The previous 3 times were fatal due to poor stupidity from the victims. Bert was hospitalized, and we were all worried that he would die. We couldn't even focus on our own work for the rest of the day without thinking about him. I decided to fill in for Bert through the remainder of the day and then the next, and so on. After the day was over, most of us went to the hospital to find out Bert's condition. How is he? We all asked at once.
He's stable. We've given him a sedative and he's resting comfortably. His injuries are pretty severe, but he should make a full recovery in about a month,
The doctor said. We were glad to hear that. A guy like him didn't deserve to die so soon.